What were the major empires? You obviously mentioned it, Britain and France. What was the scope of the major empires before World War II?
Before World War II, a very large part of the globe was made up of empires. The British Empire and the French Empire, of course, were by far the largest, around about 40% actually of the global land area. But there was also a Belgian Empire. Belgium Congo was, a huge addition to a very small European territory. The Dutch Empire was important too. The Dutch had interests in the Caribbean, Latin America, and of course Indonesia, which was again a very large area, much larger than the European Netherlands. Then there was the Italian Empire, of course, which had been born before 1914, and which Mussolini was committed to expanding as far as possible in the 1930s and 1940s. So this is a world, which is still dominated by really rather a small number of very large territorial empires.
And the British and French empires included, just to give our listeners a little overview, included what countries that we know of today?
Well, the British Empire was divided in two. There were the White Dominions, the settler dominions, which were called part of the British Empire: Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and then South Africa, which counted as a White Dominion, even though it was in fact a majority black. And then there was India, which was a kind of hybrid state. It was a kind of federation ruled by the British, but not exactly a colony. But then there were lots of colonial areas and protectorates under direct British rule. So the British Empire was a rather muddled empire in institutional terms. The French Empire, made up, of course, Vietnam, Indochina, in Southeast Asia, a very large part of West Africa and Saharan Africa, Algeria, of course, a whole string of islands in the Caribbean and islands in the Pacific. Between them, as I said, it's a very large chunk of the world,